property manager called while I was loading a carton of eggs into my trunk. "Mara, I need your approval on an owner booking," Nora said. "Daniel reserved the cottage for tonight through Sunday. Guest name is Tessa Vale. He requested the anniversary package, including champagne, under your account." For one stupid second, I thought Daniel had arranged a surprise for us. Then Nora added, "There's a note saying you may stop by to clean, but the guest has been told not to worry because you're discreet." I set the eggs down on top of a bag of potatoes. "My husband told a woman I clean my own family's cottage?" Nora went silent. That was when I understood the call wasn't the surprise. It was the mistake. And I had no idea yet whether Daniel had made it or whether he believed I had become so invisible that mistakes no longer mattered. A cart rattled past behind me, pushed by a man arguing cheerfully with a bag of charcoal. The grocery store doors opened and shut, opened and shut. My ice cream was melting somewhere under a rotisserie chicken. "Mara," Nora said carefully, "should I cancel the booking?" No. The word came out before I had decided what it meant. "I'm sorry?" "Don't cancel it. Don't confirm it either. Just leave it pending. We're supposed to have the cottage ready by 4. Housekeeping is already scheduled. Cancel housekeeping." "Mara, if this is some kind of personal situation, it's an unauthorized booking. Follow the owner policy exactly." There was another pause. Nora had managed the lake's rental properties for 6 years, and in that time I had heard her deal with a septic backup during a wedding, a raccoon trapped inside a screened porch, and a guest who insisted the sun had faded one side of his rental SUV. She did not startle easily. "Okay," she said. "No owner confirmation, no access code. What about the anniversary package?" "Has the champagne been charged?" "Not yet. Daniel put it under your name and asked us to add it to your monthly statement." Of course he had. "Don't charge it, don't deliver anything, and don't call him." I wasn't going to. That sounded like Nora. Dry enough to preserve flowers. "Call me if he contacts you," I said. "I will." "And Nora?" "Yes?" "What exactly did he say about me?" She exhaled through her nose. "I think you should read it yourself." The eggs survived the drive home. I knew because I checked them twice at red lights, lifting the lid as if one of them might contain a different explanation. Daniel's car was gone. He had left that morning in a navy shirt I had bought him for his promotion dinner, kissed the air near my cheek, and said he might be late because a client was in town. He had stood in our kitchen drinking coffee while I reminded him that we had reservations the next night at Bellwether, the little Italian place where we had celebrated 5 anniversaries. He had looked embarrassed. "Can we move it?" he'd asked. Client thing might spill into Saturday. I had laughed because I thought he was joking. Now I carried the groceries inside and saw that his black overnight bag was missing from the hall closet. The empty shelf had a clean rectangle in the dust. I put the milk away first. That detail bothered me later. How ordinary my hands remained. Milk in the door. Yogurt on the second shelf. Cilantro wrapped in a damp paper towel because it went slimy if I left it in the plastic bag. I stood there organizing food for a man who was taking another woman to my cottage. Our cottage, he would have called it. His family's cottage, apparently, when he was trying to impress Tessa Vale. I took my laptop to the kitchen table and opened the owner portal. The reservation sat at the top of the dashboard with a yellow bar across it. Awaiting owner authorization. Daniel Ellison had selected the owner guest rate, which waived the cleaning surcharge and required no deposit. He had requested early arrival, the champagne and flowers package, and 2 plush robes that did not belong to the cottage. Under special instructions, he had written, "Guest may encounter Mara, who handles turnovers and supplies. She is reliable and discreet. Please make sure champagne is chilled before arrival. Charge to Mara Ellison." The phrasing was so polished that I read it 3 times. Reliable and discreet. The words a man used about someone who changed sheets after him. Beneath that was a second note. "Celebrating an anniversary. Please make it special." I closed the laptop hard enough to make the spoon beside it jump. Our wedding anniversary was Saturday. Daniel had not merely chosen the same weekend. He had chosen the thing itself, The lake in June, the little stone fireplace, coffee on the dock, and slid another woman into my place. He had even recycled the language. Please make it special. He said that every year when he called restaurants. He enjoyed being the man who arranged special things, particularly when another person handled the arrangement. My phone buzzed. His name appeared on the screen. I let it ring twice before answering. "Hey," he said. "Did you get home okay?" He was driving. I could hear the soft rhythmic click of a turn signal. "Yes." "Good. I'm heading into that client mess I told you about." "What kind of mess?" "A beat. Contract revisions." "On a Friday afternoon? That's when clients create them." He laughed. Daniel had an easy laugh, warm and slightly self-mocking. It had covered more gaps in our marriage than either of us had admitted. "Are you staying downtown?" I asked. "Probably. James booked a block near the office so nobody has to drive after dinner." James existed. That was what made Daniel's lies effective. He rarely invented people. He borrowed them. "Which hotel?" "I don't know yet, Mayor. The one near the convention center, I think. Why?" "I was going to drop off your other charger." "I have one." The turn signal stopped clicking. I pictured him at the light by the highway ramp, one hand tightening on the wheel. He had to be wondering whether Nora had called. According to the owner portal, she was required to. He knew enough about the cottage to exploit the system, but perhaps not enough to understand where it resisted him. "Okay," I said. "Have fun with the contract revisions." "Fun isn't the word." "No, I guess it isn't." He waited for me to say something else. I could hear another car's bass vibrating through his speaker. "Mara?" "Yes?" "Are you all right?" I looked at the black overnight bag's clean rectangle in the closet. "Why wouldn't I be?" "I don't know. You sound strange." "I broke an egg." That was the first lie I told him. He chuckled, relieved. Tragic. Completely. "Listen, I'll make up the anniversary dinner next weekend. Somewhere better than Bellwether." "You love Bellwether." "I love you. The restaurant's negotiable." There it was, the small, practiced kindness that made cruelty feel unreasonable to name. "Good luck tonight," I said. He lowered his voice. "I'll call when I know what tomorrow looks like." We hung up. I sat at the table until the refrigerator motor kicked on. Then I took the cottage keys from the ceramic bowl near the garage door. There should have been 2 keys on the ring, the newer silver deadbolt key and an old brass one that no longer opened anything but had belonged to my mother. A chipped blue enamel loon hung between them, its white belly rubbed almost bare from years of keys knocking against it. The brass key was there. The loon was not. 3 weeks earlier, I had driven to Lake Marlow because a package of new smoke detector batteries had been delivered to the management office. It was a Tuesday. The cottage was not rented, the dock repair had been postponed, and nobody had a reason to be inside. I found Gloria in my mother's bedroom wearing yellow rubber gloves. She had stripped the quilt from the bed and rolled it into a black contractor bag. 2 framed photographs lay face down on the dresser. A stack of my mother's old handwritten pantry labels, flour, tea, pecans, "Don't let Mara eat these," sat in a trash box with dried out pens and a cracked wooden spoon. Gloria looked over her shoulder as if I had interrupted her in her own kitchen. "Oh," she said, "you're early." "I'm early for what?" She tugged off one glove with her teeth. "I thought Daniel told you." That sentence had become the family doorbell. Gloria rang it whenever she entered a room where she did not belong. She was hosting a luncheon for the Hospital Foundation's volunteer committee. 30 guests, a catered buffet, rented chairs on the lawn. She had already spoken to the florist. The cottage, she said, would photograph beautifully once it was aired out. "You booked my cottage." "I didn't book it. That would be ridiculous. I'm family." I picked up the quilt bag. "What are you doing with this?" "Having it cleaned." "In a garbage bag?" "It's a bag, Mara." "It doesn't know what kind it is." That was Gloria's gift. She could make your alarm sound like bad manners. She had replaced my mother's quilt with a beige coverlet from a home store. The lake photographs she brought were pleasant and empty. Water without boats, trees without leaves, a dock no one had ever walked on. Put everything back, I said. Her face changed then, not into anger, but disappointment. Anger would have admitted we were equals. This room feels like someone died yesterday. My mother used this room. Yes, and she had lovely taste for her time. But if the cottage is going to represent the family, it can't feel like a private museum. It doesn't represent your family. Gloria folded the yellow gloves together. Daniel said you might be emotional. That hurt more than the garbage bag. How did you get in? She nodded toward the kitchen. With a key. I didn't give you one. No, she said. My son did. Daniel came home that night with takeout noodles and the patient expression of a man ready to resolve a problem created by two unreasonable women. He admitted he had copied the key from my ring. Mom needed to measure the dining room, he said. She emptied a bedroom. She got carried away. She threw my mother's things into garbage bags. They were headed to the cleaner. Did you know about the luncheon? He pinched the bridge of his nose. I knew she was considering it. She hired a florist. She plans ahead. She plans other people ahead. He pushed the carton of noodles toward me as though sesame chicken could serve as a neutral third party. It's one afternoon, Mara. The place sits empty half the month. That doesn't make it hers. I didn't say it did. You gave her a key. Because I knew you'd make this into a referendum on whether my mother respects you. Does she? He leaned back. See? This is what I mean. I still remembered the strange coldness that moved through me then. Not because Gloria had crossed a boundary. Gloria crossed boundaries the way some people crossed kitchens, opening drawers along the way. The coldness came from realizing Daniel had studied my boundary, predicted my refusal, and helped her go around me. He had not been trapped between his mother and his wife. He had taken a side early and called the consequences conflict. I asked him to get the copied key back. He promised he would. 2 days later, the key on my ring disappeared. When it returned, the blue loon tag was missing. Daniel said it must have fallen off. Now, standing in our kitchen with his reservation open on my laptop, I understood why he had removed the ring. He had not copied one key. He had learned the shape of my access. I drove to Lake Marlow with the windows down because the air conditioning smelled faintly of old coffee. The highway narrowed after Benton, passing bait shops, weathered churches, and a farm stand with a hand-painted sign advertising strawberries. Every few miles I nearly called Daniel. Each time I pictured his voice becoming gentle. Mare, slow down. You don't know what you think you know. Let's not ruin everything over one stupid mistake. By the time the lake appeared through the trees, dark blue and flashing in pieces, I knew silence was the only advantage I had. Nora was waiting outside the management office. She wore khaki pants, a green polo, and an expression that made me feel briefly ashamed, as if I had arrived late to my own emergency. I printed the activity log, she said. She handed me 3 pages stapled at the corner. Daniel had edited the reservation 6 times over 4 days. He had first listed himself as the primary guest, then replaced his name with Tessa's. He added the anniversary note Wednesday night, flowers Thursday morning, robes that afternoon. At 11:43 the night before, he changed the arrival instructions. Guest prefers privacy. Do not contact owner unless absolutely necessary. Nora tapped that line. That's why I called. Because he told you not to? Because anybody who understands our system knows we always contact the owner. Daniel had expected obedience from Nora because he mistook professionalism for service. It was the same mistake he made with me. Did you know her name? I asked. Nora's mouth tightened. No. Have they used the cottage before? Not through us. That was not the same as no. I folded the pages and put them in my bag. I need to check the house. I can come with you. I'd rather go alone. Nora nodded. They requested 4 o'clock arrival. I looked at the clock over her desk, 3:12. The cottage sat at the end of a gravel lane beneath 2 tall pines. Gloria's rented beige coverlet was still on my mother's bed. The lake prints were stacked against the hallway wall because I had not yet decided what to do with them. My mother's quilt lay folded across the chair, clean now, though one corner still smelled faintly of Gloria's lemon furniture spray. In the kitchen, a new lockbox had been mounted beside the back door. I stared at it. Nora's company had not installed it. Their boxes were gray and branded. This one was black, cheap, and secured to the trim with fresh screws. I tried Daniel's birthday. The box clicked open. Inside was a silver deadbolt key attached to my chipped blue loon. My phone rang in my hand. Nora said, "Mara, Daniel just called. He says they're 20 minutes away." "How much did he say?" I asked. "Only that they were on the highway and wanted the access code sent directly to his phone." I closed my hand around the blue loon, one sharp metal wing pressed into my palm. "Tell him the booking is still waiting for owner approval." "He'll ask you to approve it." "I'm not approving it." "You want me to say that?" "Yes." Nora was quiet for a moment. "Are you staying at the cottage?" "No." That was what I said anyway. I removed the silver key from Daniel's lockbox and put it on my own ring. Then I pulled the blue loon free and tucked it into the zippered pocket of my purse. I left the black box hanging open and empty beside the door. On my way out, I noticed 2 wine glasses upside down on the drying mat. The cottage had been empty since the previous Sunday. I had checked the kitchen after the renters left because they reported a broken blender. Nora's housekeeper always returned the wine glasses to the upper cabinet. I opened the dishwasher. 2 dinner plates, 2 forks, a chef's knife, everything clean. The coffee maker held a used filter dried into the shape of the basket. Daniel had been there recently. Whether with Tessa or not, I couldn't tell. The house offered evidence in ordinary objects and refused to explain any of it. I photographed the dishes, the filter, and the lockbox. Then I locked both doors and drove away. There was a scenic turnout half a mile above the management office where tourists stopped to photograph the lake. I parked beneath an oak tree and watched sunlight flash across the water through my windshield. The cottage was hidden from there, but I could see the office roof and one end of the parking lot. At 3:47, a white SUV pulled in. Daniel got out first. He had changed out of the navy shirt. He wore a pale gray sweater I had given him for Christmas, sleeves pushed up in the deliberate, casual way he used when he wanted to look as if he had just finished doing something important. Tessa stepped out on the passenger side. She was not what I expected, mostly because I had expected a type rather than a person. She was tall, dark-haired, and dressed for the lake in jeans and white sneakers. She opened the back hatch and lifted out a canvas bag while Daniel came around to help. She waved him off, smiling. He touched the middle of her back anyway. It was a familiar gesture. He used it to guide me through crowded restaurants. My phone rang. "They're here," Nora said. "I can see them." "You can?" "I'm nearby." Nora did not ask where. "Daniel wants to speak to you." "No." "Mara, he says you forgot to approve the reservation and that I should call you so you can fix it." "Tell him I declined." "Do you want to hear the conversation?" I should have said no. I should have driven home, packed a bag, and let Nora perform the dull administrative rejection I had requested. Instead, I said, "Put your phone on the desk. Don't tell him I'm listening." The line rustled. I heard a drawer close, the low murmur of Daniel's voice, then Nora speaking in her public tone. "I'm sorry about the delay. The owner has declined authorization." "What does that mean?" Tessa asked. Her voice was lower than I imagined, calm. "It means I can't release a key or access code for the cottage." Daniel laughed softly. "There's some confusion. My wife handles the bookings, and we've been missing each other all day. I'll take care of it." "The owner has already responded." "Yes, my wife, Mara. She's probably irritated because I didn't remind her." Tessa said, "You told me Mara was the housekeeper." The office went very still. Daniel recovered quickly. "She manages the place. Housekeeping, reservations, all of that." I used the terms interchangeably. I pressed my fingertips to my mouth. Nora's voice remained even. "Mara Ellison is the property owner. All owner-guest stays require her direct approval." "I understand that," Daniel said. Tessa did not. You said it was your family's house. It is. The deed and management agreement are in Mara Ellison's name, Nora said. I can't speak to your family arrangements. I can only follow the agreement. Can we not do this in front of everybody? There were 3 people in the room. Tessa asked, Is the champagne here? Tessa, Daniel said. I'm asking her. Nora replied, It was not purchased because the charge was submitted under Mara Ellison's owner account. Tessa made a small sound, not quite a laugh. Daniel lowered his voice. Could you give us a minute? I can wait outside, Nora said. No, I mean... He stopped. Can you just call Mara again? I already spoke with her. When? Before you arrived. And she said what, exactly? That she does not authorize the booking. The gray sweater moved across the office window. He was pacing. She's doing this because we had an argument, he said. This has nothing to do with you. I'm the person responsible for the property. I'm her husband. That doesn't change the booking agreement. Tessa said, What is this weekend? Daniel's shoes stopped on the tile. What do you mean? You called it our anniversary weekend. It is. Is it also yours and hers? He did not answer quickly enough. Oh my God, Tessa said. It's complicated. No, that one's actually simple. A chair scraped backward. Daniel said her name twice. The office door opened hard enough that I heard the little bell above it strike the glass. For several seconds, there was only Daniel breathing. Then he said, She's listening, isn't she? Nora did not answer. Mara, he called. I ended the call. From the turnout, I watched Tessa cross the parking lot. Daniel followed her, gesturing with both hands. She opened the SUV's passenger door, took out a smaller leather bag, and walked toward the road. He caught up and stepped in front of her. She moved around him. He reached for her arm, then seemed to think better of it. After another minute, she got into a rideshare that had pulled beside the office. Daniel stood in the lot as the car drove away. My phone lit up with his name. Then again. Then a text. What did you do? A second followed. Call me now. I put the phone face down on the seat and drove home by the long road around the lake. He arrived shortly after 10. I had packed none of his clothes. I had not changed the locks or placed a suitcase on the porch. Those things felt theatrical, and I no longer wanted to help him understand the scene he was in. I sat at the kitchen table with the printed activity log, the photographs, and a yellow legal pad. Daniel came through the garage door carrying the black overnight bag. You knew, he said. I looked at the bag. So there was a hotel after all. He set it down. How long were you sitting there? Long enough. You listened to a private conversation at my property management office about access to my property through a booking made in my name. Don't do that. Do what? Talk like a demand letter. You told her I was the cleaner. I said you handled the cottage. You said I handled turnovers and supplies. She misunderstood. Nora read me your note. He looked at the printed pages. His face changed, not into shame. Calculation came first. Nora gave you internal records. My owner records. Right. He pulled out a chair but did not sit. So you decided to maximize the humiliation. I followed the policy. You watched. I wanted to see who you were bringing into my house. He rubbed both hands over his face. I was going to tell you. When? I don't know. Before or after I washed the champagne glasses? He flinched. It was the first honest thing he had done all day. How long? I asked. Mara. How long? He lowered himself into the chair. It hasn't been what you think. I don't know what I think yet. Tessa and I met through work. Which means how long? 8 months. The refrigerator hummed behind us. 8 months contained Christmas morning, Gloria's birthday dinner, a flu Daniel said he caught at a conference, and a Wednesday in March when he brought me tulips for no reason. Did she know you were married? Yes. Did she know we were still together? He looked toward the dark kitchen window. I told her things weren't good between us. They weren't good between us? They haven't been good for a while. This was news delivered in the tone of a reminder. You kissed me this morning. People can care about each other and still be unhappy. Did you tell Tessa that? She's not the point. She was the guest of honor at my cottage. It was a bad decision. The weekend. He hesitated. The cottage, he said. I almost admired the precision. So the affair wasn't a bad decision. Bringing her somewhere Nora could call me was... That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. He stood again. Daniel did movement when words stopped obeying him. I knew the house was empty. I thought we could go somewhere private and talk about what this was becoming. With champagne and robes. The robes were part of a package. You ordered the package. He made an impatient sound. Fine, yes, I wanted it to feel nice. Special. He glanced at the booking note. I asked, have you taken her there before? No. The answer was fast. I slid my phone toward him, showing the photographs of the wine glasses and dishes. He stared at them. That could be anybody. It could be. Renters leave things in the dishwasher all the time. They weren't there Sunday. You're interrogating coffee filters now? I'm asking you. He pushed the phone back. Once. The room shifted around that word. When? February. I remembered February. Gloria had told me the pipes needed checking after a freeze. Daniel volunteered to drive up because I was buried in quarterly reports at work. He returned with a photograph of the lake iced along the shore and a container of soup from the deli near the highway. He had kissed my forehead and told me I worked too hard. Was that why Gloria needed a key? I asked. His eyes flicked away. Oh, I said. No. Mom had nothing to do with Tessa. She gave you cover. She asked me to check the pipes. And you brought your mistress. Stop saying it like that. What word would make it easier for you? The garage door opened. Gloria came into the kitchen carrying her purse and a covered casserole dish. I stared at Daniel. He spread his hands. I didn't know what else to do. Gloria set the dish on the counter. You both need to eat before this gets any uglier. Get out of my house, I said. She blinked once. I realize you're upset. You realize? Daniel told me what happened. I came because somebody has to keep this from turning into scorched earth. I looked at the casserole. Is that lasagna? Baked ziti. Good. Lasagna would have been insulting. Her mouth tightened, but for half a second Daniel almost smiled. The old reflex passed between them, the two of them recognizing each other while I stood outside it. Gloria took off her coat. Tessa was a mistake. Daniel knows that. Daniel looked at her. Can we not call her that? It surprised all three of us. Gloria recovered first. Fine. The situation was a mistake. You knew about her, I said. I knew he had become close to someone. Did you know he was taking her to the cottage? I knew he was taking a friend there to talk. On our anniversary. He said the dates were unfortunate. I laughed. It came out loud and ugly. Gloria sat across from me. Marriages survive worse things than this when people don't make permanent decisions in the first hour. You gave him your blessing. I did no such thing. I told him to decide what he wanted before he destroyed his life. And while he decided, you helped him use my house. I assumed he had the right to be there. You knew he didn't. That's why you kept your key. Her hand moved toward her purse. Daniel saw it. So did I. Put it on the table, I said. Gloria's face went flat. Don't speak to me like I'm a thief. Then don't make me search your purse. Mara, Daniel warned. There it was again, his instinct arriving before thought, clean and immediate. Gloria reached inside her purse and placed a silver key on the table. It had been copied onto a blank stamped with red letters from the hardware store near her house. I set the blue loon beside it. Daniel looked from one to the other. I asked you to get her key back, I said. I thought I had. Gloria inhaled to speak. He turned on her. Mom. The single word carried real anger, but it came too late to mean what he wanted it to mean. I needed access for the luncheon, she said. Vendors were already scheduled. The luncheon is canceled, I said. You can't cancel it. It's my cottage. Deposits have been paid. Then ask Daniel to reimburse you. Gloria looked at him, and I watched the cost move from an abstract principle into his face. You're punishing everyone because your husband embarrassed you, she said. No, I'm removing access from people who used it after I said no. She stood. This cottage has consumed your sense of proportion. Daniel remained between us, saying nothing. I picked up Gloria's copied key and added it to my ring. Then I opened the owner portal on my laptop and revoked Daniel's household access while they watched. I changed the cottage billing method, removed our shared card, and emailed Nora a written instruction that no booking, vendor, guest, or family event could be authorized by anyone but me. When I finished, Daniel said, "You realize I paid for half that roof." It was the first consequence he offered me, not an apology, an invoice. I looked at him across the kitchen table. You paid for half the roof with money from our joint account. I earned money in that account. So did I. That doesn't erase my contribution. No, I said, it doesn't. He had expected denial. I saw it in the way his shoulders stalled. Gloria folded her coat over one arm. At least one of you is capable of being reasonable. I turned to her. Your event is still canceled. You have 30 people expecting. You invited 30 people to a house you don't own after I told you not to use it. Their expectations belong to you. She picked up the baked ziti. For a moment, she seemed tempted to take Daniel with her in the same motion. At the door, she said, "People remember who humiliates them, Mara." Daniel stared at the legal pad. You would know. Gloria's face tightened. Then she left without the comeback she would have preferred. Daniel slept in the guest room. I knew because I heard the shower in that bathroom at 2 a.m, then again at 6. He was always neatest when his life was coming apart. By the time I entered the kitchen, the ziti had been transferred into one of our glass containers. The foil washed and folded beside it. He was dressed for work. I moved my direct deposit, he said. Okay, until we figure out what's happening. You moved your paycheck out of our account before asking what's happening. You removed me from the cottage system because you used it to take Tessa there. He buttoned one cuff. I'm protecting myself. So am I. I'll transfer my half of the mortgage and utilities every month. What about groceries? Seriously? I'm asking what your half includes. He stared at me with open dislike. It should have hurt more than it did. Instead, it clarified the room. We can make a spreadsheet, he said. We already have one. Of course we do. He picked up his laptop bag. On the counter sat a thick envelope of receipts from his last 2 work trips. For years, I had sorted them by date, matched them to his corporate card, and uploaded them into the expense portal because Daniel hated administrative nonsense. I slid the envelope toward him. Your reimbursement deadline is Monday. He glanced at it. You always do those. I did. You're going to start nickel and diming every favor now? It wasn't a favor if you thought I had to keep doing it. He left the envelope on the counter, possibly to prove he could. Monday evening, it was still there. He missed the deadline on $683 in hotel, meals, and parking. His company allowed late submissions, but only with his supervisor's approval. Daniel spent half an hour drafting an explanation before he came into the living room holding the envelope. What order do these go in? Chronological. I know what chronological means. Then you're all set. He stood there long enough for me to look up from my book. I'm not asking you to do it, he said. I'm asking where the mileage form is. In the portal. Where? Under mileage. He gave a short laugh. This is what you wanted, right? To watch me struggle with stupid little things? No, I wanted to stop being responsible for them. That's a convenient distinction. It's a real one. He found the form. The next morning, Nora emailed me. The subject line was management status. Her company would continue honoring all confirmed summer rentals, but she needed written assurance that there would be no more competing instructions or unauthorized entries. If the dispute continued, the company could decline to renew our agreement in the fall. I called her from my office stairwell. "Are you firing me?" I asked. "I'm drawing a line around my staff." "That sounds like a polite yes." "It's a polite maybe. Daniel called 3 times Saturday. Gloria called twice. One of her vendors came in asking where to put a tent deposit. I canceled the event." "I know. She says you'll reconsider." "I won't." Nora sighed. "Mara, I believe you. But belief isn't something I can enter into the reservation system. What do you need?" "A single point of authority and no family members showing up with keys. If that's you, put it in writing and enforce it." "I already put it in writing. The second part matters more." After we hung up, I opened the Cottage account. The numbers did not care that Daniel had lied. Insurance was due in August. The dock repair had grown from a cracked support into 2 pilings and a section of warped decking. The summer bookings would cover most of it if Nora stayed. Without her company, I could either manage turnovers myself from an hour away or leave the cottage empty and carry the costs from my salary. Daniel had understood the pressure, even if he had never studied the spreadsheet. He knew I needed the rentals. He knew the cottage had emotional value and practical weakness. That afternoon, my cousin Lila called. "I'm not taking sides," she began. She had sold me her quarter share 8 years earlier and used the money for a down payment on a condo. She still referred to the cottage as ours whenever she liked a photograph of the lake. "Then we can talk about something else," I said. "Gloria says you're throwing away paid bookings because you caught Daniel with another woman." "It wasn't a paid booking. She said there's a committee event. Gloria's committee. Her vendors. Her guests." Lila was silent. She sent me pictures of the bedroom. My grip tightened on the phone. What pictures? The new bedding. The lake prints. Honestly, it looks good. She removed my mother's things without asking. She said she was helping you get it rental ready. It is rental ready. That room wasn't part of the rental, which is part of the problem. There it was, spoken without cruelty. The small bedroom stayed locked during guest bookings. It held a narrow bed, 2 quilts, boxes of photographs, and more memory than square footage. Lila had never understood why I kept it that way. "You own the place," she said. "I know that. Legally, morally, whatever. But if it's wrecking your finances and your marriage, maybe sell it." "Did Gloria ask you to say that?" "She asked whether I'd support a sale. She doesn't own a vote." "No, but Daniel might have a claim to some of the value he put in. Did she tell you that too?" "Mara, she didn't invent the roof." After the call, I sat at my desk with my hand resting on the mouse, unable to remember what I had been doing. Gloria had moved around me again. She could not access the cottage, so she was working on the people who remembered it before it was mine. I called a family law attorney during my lunch break. She did not give me the clean answer I wanted. The cottage had been mine before the marriage, but joint funds had paid for identifiable improvements. Daniel could make a reimbursement argument if we divorced. Whether he could claim any increase in value depended on records, appraisals, and facts we had not gathered. "Can he force me to sell?" I asked. "Not automatically." "That doesn't sound like no." "It's a legal answer. Legal answers are expensive versions of it depends." I almost laughed. She advised me to copy financial records, document the source of repair payments, and avoid draining shared accounts or disposing of major property. She also said something I wrote at the top of my legal pad: "Fair does not mean surrender." Tessa texted me that night. "I found the number on your work website. I'm not trying to cause more trouble. I have information about the cottage you should probably see." I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Daniel was downstairs watching baseball at low volume. Every so often the crowd swelled and vanished. I replied, "What information?" She sent a photograph. Daniel stood on the cottage dock in February, wearing a red knit cap and holding 2 mugs. Ice edged the shore behind him. He was smiling at the person taking the picture. The blue loon hung from the key in his other hand. Tessa and I met the next afternoon at a coffee shop halfway between my office and hers. She arrived first and chose a table near the door. Up close, she looked tired. There was a faint mark on her nose from glasses she was no longer wearing. "I'm not going to apologize in a way that asks you to make me feel better," she said. "Good." She nodded once. "He told me you knew. That he was sleeping with you? That your marriage was over except financially. He said you had separate rooms and were waiting until after tax season to file." "We did not have separate rooms." "I figured that out Friday." She pushed her phone across the table. There were months of messages. I did not read all of them. I saw enough. Daniel complaining that I treated the cottage like a church. Daniel saying I cared more about preserving my mother's room than building a life with him. Daniel promising Tessa that once the place was properly ours, they could spend more weekends there. "He said his family maintained it," Tessa said. "He said you handled the rentals because you liked controlling things. He told you I cleaned it. He said that Friday morning. I asked if we needed to bring sheets. He said, Mara handles all that. When I asked who Mara was, he said, basically the cleaner with emotional equity." I looked down at my coffee. "Emotional equity," I repeated. I thought it was a bad joke. It was. She scrolled to a series of receipts. A hotel downtown, a restaurant, gas near Lake Marlow. Charges I recognized from our shared card but had assumed were client expenses. "I don't know what helps you," she said. "I can send these." "Why?" "Because he called me after the office and said you had set both of us up. He said you must have gotten into his email and created the booking notes to make him look cruel. That was so audacious I believed it immediately." "Did you?" "No. I didn't think so. I agreed not to use her name publicly or drag her into conversations with Gloria. She emailed me the screenshots and left before I finished my coffee. At home, I copied the repair invoices, bank statements, and cottage records onto a drive. The roof payment was exactly what Daniel said, half from his annual bonus, deposited into our joint account, half from rental income. The dock repairs, appliances, and property taxes told a messier story. Some were mine. Some were shared. None supported the simple version either of us wanted. I made Daniel a written offer to reimburse his documented share of the roof and 2 other improvements over 12 months. It would hurt. It would not require selling. He read it at the kitchen island. So this is a buyout. It's an offer. In exchange for what? An agreement that you have no ownership claim to the cottage. He folded the paper. "And if I don't agree? Then we pay lawyers to argue about receipts." He studied me. "You've already decided to divorce me. I've decided you don't get access to that house. Those aren't the same thing. They became connected when you used one to finance the other." He leaned both hands on the counter. "I'll go to counseling. I'll end things with Tessa. But you have to stop treating me like an intruder in my own marriage." "What does that require?" "Take the lawyers off the table. Restore my access. Let Mom have her event so she doesn't lose the deposits. We start acting like people who want to repair something." There it was. His version of reconciliation began with everyone getting their keys back. "No," I said. He straightened. "Then you're making the choice." Friday evening, a florist called to confirm delivery of 12 white hydrangea arrangements to the cottage the next morning. I told her the event had been canceled. She sounded confused. "Mrs. Ellison confirmed it yesterday." "I'm Mrs. Ellison." After we hung up, I emailed Gloria, Daniel, Nora, and every vendor whose name appeared on the original event sheet. The property was unavailable. No person had permission to enter. Any costs remained the responsibility of whoever placed the orders. Gloria did not respond. At 9 the next morning, my phone buzzed with an automated alert from the cottage's new door sensor. Back entry opened. Before I could call anyone, Nora's name appeared on the screen. "Mara," she said, "there are cars going down your lane." "How many?" 6 so far. A catering van, 2 sedans, and a truck pulling what looks like a tent. I was already moving toward the stairs. "Is Gloria there?" "I can't see the house from the road." "Don't let anyone unload." "Mara, they're on private property. I can tell them the booking isn't authorized, but I'm not security." "I know, I'm coming." I grabbed my purse, then stopped with my hand on the front door. This was the part Gloria understood better than anyone. She created a mess big enough, expensive enough, visible enough, and waited for the nearest responsible woman to decide cleaning it up was easier than holding the boundary. If I raced to the cottage and began directing vans, calling guests, moving flowers, and comforting humiliated committee members, I would still be working for Gloria. I would simply be angrier while I did it. I called Nora back. "Go to the property with a copy of my email," I said. "Tell every vendor there is no event authorization and the management company will not accept deliveries or liability. Ask them to leave." "What about the guests?" "Tell them the property is closed." "And Gloria?" "Tell her I'm on my way." I put on jeans, made coffee, and poured it into a travel mug. Daniel came out of the guest room while I was screwing on the lid. "What happened?" "Your mother is at the cottage." His face did something complicated. Surprise first, then annoyance, then a strange, reluctant admiration. "She went through with it?" "Yes." "How did she get in?" "That's what I'd like to know." He picked up his phone. "I'll call her." "No." "Mara, there are 30 people. She invited them after being told the event was canceled. You're going to leave her standing there?" "She is standing exactly where she chose to stand." He was already calling. Gloria answered on the first ring. I could hear noise behind her. Doors closing, metal clattering, a man asking where she wanted the warming trays. "Daniel," she said. "Thank God. Nora is here behaving like a prison warden. You need to leave. She has no authority to cancel my contract with the caterer. She has authority over the property. I had a key. That isn't the point." For a moment, I looked at him with something close to hope. Then Gloria said, "The committee chair is 10 minutes away. I cannot have her arrive to find us on the road like trespassers." Daniel glanced at me. There it was, the choice entering the room and sitting down between us. "Mom, give me a few minutes," he said. "I'll handle Mara." I took my coffee and left. The catering van was backing out when I reached the gravel lane. The driver lifted one hand in apology as we passed. Behind him, the tent truck was turning around in a patch of grass, its tires pressing dark arcs into the wet ground. White hydrangeas crowded the back of a florist's SUV. The florist stood beside it with her arms folded while Gloria argued with Nora near the cottage steps. Gloria wore cream slacks and a coral jacket. She had dressed for photographs. 3 committee members stood near the lake, pretending to admire the view. Another woman sat in her car with the engine running. Their discomfort hung over the yard like weather. Nora met me halfway. "She used a key," she said. I gathered that. The back door wasn't forced. She was inside before the caterer arrived. Gloria walked toward us. "This is beyond petty," she said. "People have driven an hour." "You told them to." "I confirmed this event months ago. With yourself. I paid vendors. I ordered rentals. I gave everyone this address. After I canceled it. You canceled it in a fit of rage over Daniel's affair. Those 2 matters have nothing to do with each other. They have the same key." Her lips parted, then pressed together. I held out my hand. "Give it to me." "I don't have another key." The back door opened. I found the lockbox open. It was empty. Then perhaps the housekeeper left one. Nora's eyebrows rose. I almost laughed. Gloria had spent years treating every working person as if they became furniture when she finished speaking to them. She had forgotten Nora knew exactly who managed what. "There is no housekeeper key," Nora said. "Our staff uses temporary codes." Gloria looked at her. "This is a family discussion. It became a management issue when you brought vendors onto a contracted property." A black sedan turned down the lane. Gloria's posture changed at once. "That's Dr. Pierce," she said. "Mara, please let the luncheon happen. We can discuss the cottage afterward." The request came softly. For one second, she looked less like Daniel's indestructible mother and more like a woman who had built her identity from invitations, committees, and rooms that looked effortless because someone else had done the work. I understood what it would cost her to be turned away in front of Dr. Pierce. I also understood that she had counted on that cost controlling me. "No," I said. The sedan stopped beside us. A silver-haired woman lowered the window. "Gloria? Is everything all right?" Gloria smiled with terrifying speed. "Minor scheduling issue. The property is unavailable," I said. "The luncheon won't be held here." Dr. Pierce looked from me to Gloria. "I'm Mara Ellison. I own the cottage. I'm sorry you were given an address for an event that wasn't authorized." Gloria's smile remained in place. "Mara is dealing with a difficult personal situation." Nora stepped forward and handed Gloria a copy of my email. The cancellation was sent yesterday to the organizer and all identified vendors. Dr. Pierce read enough of the page to understand. "We can meet at the hotel," she said. "They have a private dining room." "The caterer is already paid," Gloria replied. "Then ask whether they can redirect." Gloria looked at the catering van disappearing between the trees. Dr. Pierce did not scold her. She simply drove away, calling someone through her car speakers before she reached the road. The committee members followed. It was quieter than the humiliation Daniel had imagined I was staging. No shouting audience, just engine starting, tires on gravel, and Gloria watching an event continue without her control. The florist opened the back of her SUV. "I can't return custom arrangements," she said. "Send the invoice to the person who ordered them," I replied. Gloria turned on her. "Take them to the hotel." "There's a redelivery charge." "Fine. And I need a card." Gloria reached into her purse. When she pulled out her wallet, I saw a silver key lying at the bottom. I held out my hand again. She closed the purse. "Gloria, you have made your point." "No, you made mine." A car door slammed behind us. Daniel crossed the yard in the gray sweater. He had driven fast, his hair was windblown, and a dark coffee stain marked one cuff. "Mom," he said, "give her the key." Gloria's eyes shone, though I had never seen her cry. I was trying to preserve one thing this family could still be proud of. "You lied to get inside," I said. "I used a key my son gave me, after he promised to take it back." She looked at Daniel. "You told her?" "I told her I thought I had. That is not the same thing. Give it to her." Gloria removed the key and placed it in his palm rather than mine. He stared at it. "Where did you get this copy?" he asked. "When you first gave me the key, I made two. People lose things." Daniel laughed once, without humor. I expected him to hand it to me. Instead, he closed his fist around it. "Can we go inside?" he asked. "No," I said. "Mara, we need to talk. We can talk here." "In front of Nora?" Nora was already walking toward the management office. "I'll send the unauthorized use report this afternoon," she said. "There'll be charges for the blocked rental day and staff call-out." Gloria stared after her. "Charges?" "You brought an event onto a managed property," I said. "The house wasn't rented. It was unavailable because you said you were using it. Nora blocked the date while we sorted out your vendors. This is extortion. It's a fee listed in the agreement." Daniel opened his hand. The key lay across his palm. "I'll cover it," he said. I looked at him. He was not speaking to me. Gloria exhaled. "You shouldn't have to." I said, "I'll handle it." "You always handle it," I said. His head snapped toward me. "What do you want me to do? Leave her with thousands of dollars in bills?" "I want you to notice that she created those bills because she believed you would protect her from my no. She made a bad decision. So did you. I'm trying to clean this up. You're paying her for crossing the same boundary you helped her cross." He came closer and lowered his voice. "This is my mother." "I know. What does that mean?" "It means I finally understand what our marriage protects." His expression changed. I had expected saying it to feel powerful. It felt tired. "When your mother wants something from me," I said, "you give it to her. If I object, I'm emotional. If she ignores me, she got carried away. If you lie, it's complicated. If I stop cooperating, I'm destroying the family." "That isn't fair." Neither was telling your mistress I was the cleaner. He looked toward Gloria. She had moved beside the florist and was pretending not to listen. That was cruel, he said. I know that. You knew it when you wrote it. I was trying to make Tessa comfortable. The honesty of it landed harder than another excuse. He had made me smaller so another woman could relax in my house. I held out my hand. After a moment, he gave me the key. Gloria left with the florist. Daniel stayed until the last car disappeared, then sat on the cottage steps with his elbows on his knees. I'll go to counseling alone, he said, even if you won't come. That's probably a good idea. You're really done. I didn't know I was done when Nora called me. But you know now. I looked at the empty lane. Yes. He nodded slowly. What happens with the roof? I almost smiled. It was such a Daniel question, practical, defensive, and somehow sincere. My offer is still open. He accepted it 3 weeks later, after his attorney requested an appraisal and learned that repairs had preserved the cottage's value more than increased it. We negotiated the documented roof and appliance contributions through our lawyers. I paid part from savings and the rest over 12 months. The affair charges Tessa sent me did not produce a dramatic victory. They made Daniel less eager to turn every shared dollar into proof of his generosity. He kept his retirement account. I kept mine. We sold the house, divided the equity, and argued through 2 meetings about a dining table neither of us ultimately wanted. Daniel moved into an apartment across town. Gloria's luncheon was relocated to the hotel, though she lost the catering deposit and paid Nora's management fees after Daniel refused to cover the entire bill. That refusal came too late for us, but not too late to matter between them. Lila called me after Gloria told her I had ruined the event without warning. I saw your email, she said. She forwarded it while trying to prove there was no warning. That sounds useful. I'm sorry. I accepted the apology without turning it into a reunion. Nora renewed the management agreement in the fall. The cottage needed to earn more of its keep, so I unlocked my mother's bedroom and made choices I had postponed for years. I kept one quilt and the pantry labels. I gave Lila the photographs she wanted. The beige coverlet went to a donation center, and Gloria's empty lake prints sold online for $40. The room became part of the rental. On the morning the first guests were due, I stocked coffee, checked the smoke detectors, and placed clean towels at the foot of the bed. The house no longer looked frozen at the exact moment I had last felt safe there. It looked lived in, which was harder and better. Before I left, I stood beside the pantry and slipped the chipped blue loon onto the only owner key still in circulation. I hung it on the brass hook. Then I locked the door behind me.